watching Shalom TV, celebrating Jewish culture. Funding for Shalom TV has been provided by the following: and by viewers like you.
If I try to sum up as faithfully as possible our debates, the questions which have been raised, I cannot avoid the evidence that a lot of our discussions turned around the question of Islam, Muslim communities in Europe, totalitarianism in Arab countries, and so on. About this, I would like not only to sum up, but maybe to make a step forward to clarify a few things, if you allow me. About the Muslim presence, the big Muslim community in France and in Europe, I would like to make one point very clear. It is true that in France, for example, in England, in Germany, there is a big Muslim community. What is not true is that this community should be considered as a threat, as itself, as a threat to democracy. This is not true. And not even as a threat against Judaism or Jews and so on. That is not true. The reality, in France I'm sure, elsewhere in Europe it's my feeling, is that this big Muslim community is divided by a line, a real front line dividing two camps, putting the stage for a real battle, a real civilization battle inside Islam, between democratic forces and between fundamentalist and fascist forces. You have today in France a real fight, a political one, between fascism and democracy inside Islam. My feeling is that the fascist forces inside the Muslim community in France, they shout very, very much. You hear them a lot, as always. The extremists express themselves always much more strongly than the moderate. This is a law. But I don't believe that they are the majority. I do believe that they are. Today, it may change tomorrow, but at the moment when we speak, in France, in England, in Germany, my strong belief is that the biggest majority of this community has one aspiration, which is to follow the path of previous minorities having integrated themselves in the past in the French Republican model, and to adopt the values of democracy and republic. But it does not mean that the battle is not going on. It does not mean that you don't have some people, some civilian activists, some uncivilian activists, people in the middle like Tariq Ramadan. I know, good for you. I know that Tariq Ramadan has recuperated his visa to go to America. Your problem. I think that Tariq Ramadan does not belong to this democratic wing of the Muslim community, but that is another question. So there is a battle going on there. This battle, for the moment, has not been won, and far from it, by the extremist forces. Now, if you try to look inside this battle, what are the stakes in this Muslim world inside Europe, inside America. At the end of the day, you have the Muslims of America, you have in the Catskills this Muslim community which was linked to the murderers of Daniel Pearl. I found that in my book about Daniel Pearl. It is not only Europe, you have also a problem in America too. It's like anti-Semitism. It is not a European speciality. So what is going on in Islam, in Europe, in America, and in the Arab and non-Arab Islamic world? There is a question of religion and there is a question of politics. The question of religion, the religious debate, is not for me the most important, but it exists. It is a debate between those, and I rebound of something which has been said in the beginning. It is a discussion between those who inside Islam think that they are the only one, that there is only one faith, only one way to embrace the faith which is theirs, and those who believe that there is a lot of roads, a lot of paths. This is the real point. Christianity made a huge step forward, a huge progress. Christianity, Catholicism in particular, at the time of Vatican II. In Vatican II, one very simple thing has been said regarding the Jews. Before Vatican II, the Jews were considered as the fathers of the Christians. The very respected, revered fathers, but the fathers. Their book, their holy book, was considered as a testament, the Old Testament. The vocation of a father is to die and to be replaced by the son. And the vocation of an Old Testament is to disappear and to be replaced by the good one, by the new one. Vatican II changed completely the point of view by saying that Jews and Christians were not father and son, but were brothers. Elder brother, younger brother. This was Vatican II, and this was really an earthquake inside Catholicism. When it was said that it was not a relationship of fatherhood, but of brotherhood, then it was said that there was two possible roads toward the truth, that there was two possible ways to embrace it, and not only one which was scheduled to replace the other. Inside the Judaism, the same thing happened with Emmanuel Levinas, and before Emmanuel Levinas with Franz Rosenzweig. Rosenzweig, a very important German Jewish thinker of the beginning of the 20th century, who said also this very simple thing which changed all the landscape. There is two ways of access to the being. The being in the meaning of Aristotle. The being, there is not only one way, but two possible ways. The Christian way and the Jewish way. When this was said by Rosenzweig in L'Étoile de la Rédemption, and by Emmanuel Levinas in many of his books, it was the stone, the founding stone of the impossibility of fanaticism and of extremism in the Judaism. There can always be, as everywhere, some people who say that to discuss with the Arabs and so on deserve to be killed. Of course. But the mainstream of Judaism has changed with Rosenzweig and Levinas, because giving the possibility to the truth to be said in two different languages. Today, the mainstream is in Islam. The mainstream consists in saying that there was one false revelation, God speaking to Moses. One second imposture, fakeness, hoax, a second hoax, which was God speaking to the Christ. Hoax 1, hoax 2. And that at the end of the day came the only single, unique, direct speaking from God to somebody, who was God speaking to Mahomet. So this idea of two revelations being just fakes, hoax, brouillon, how do you say brouillon? Drafts, bad drafts, and then the word itself, this means that the Islamic world has not yet made the work which has been done by Christianity and by Judaism. The other things which the other religions have done and which Islam has still to do and will do, I'm sure, is to consider that this given word has been given, but in spite of having been given by God, may be commented, discussed, put into debate between human beings. Each time a religion committed this act of saying that a given word can be subjected to human discussion, it was a revolution. It was a revolution in the whole world. When the Jews, for example, invented the Talmud, which is the very core of Judaism, much more than the Bible. Levinas said that the Jewish people is not the people of the Torah. He said, he went to the point to say that it was the people of the Talmud. Why? Because the Talmud is this place where the word of God is indefinitely discussed. Islam will enter definitely and forever in a ground where fanaticism will be impossible, will be completely excluded when it will adopt, invent, produce some sort of, it will not be the same of course, but something looking like la glose of the fathers of the church or the Talmud of the rabbis in Judaism. You have today some scholars in the Muslim world who believe that. Who believe that the solution, that the exit from the fanaticism is there, in the possibility, in the right, in the intellectual tools, allowing to consider that the given word is subject to discussion, has a meaning which is not closed, is like the wings of the spirit which are folded and which have to be unfolded, and so on. This is a religious question when in the Islamic world you will have, number one, the idea that there is 2, 3, 4 roads to the truth. And when you will have the idea that the given word is an open letter, like open letter to the president, published in the newspaper, an open letter. Not only a letter, an open letter. When you will have these two things, all that belongs to religion in this question of freedom of speech inside Islam will be on the process of a solution. Now you have in the Islamic world another problem, which is politic. My neighbor of panel said that you had some countries in the Arab world which are totalitarian. Yes and no. Yes and no. I did not say totalitarian. I did not, and I would not say totalitarian. If we think about, if we think of the same countries or political movements, they are not totalitarian. If we want to be accurate, we have to say that they are the cue of an old comet, the end of an old black star, which was the black star, the horrible star of the fascism of the 30s. This is a thing which has been said here by my friend Paul Berman in a book published 10 years ago, and which I tried to develop myself in some posterior works. The Arabic world was absolutely not out of the fascist revolution. It was involved in it. There was a an Arabic version of it through Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, but many other, Ba'ath Party, and so on and so on. And the point is that the Arabic world and the Muslim world is the only one to which the question of its fascist past has not been addressed. As long as it will not be addressed, as long as public opinions, the leaders, the Mubaraks, the people of Syria, the Assads, the Ayatollah advising Ahmadinejad, Ayatollah Yazdi, for example, very important person in Iran today who is a true fascist in the meaning, in the way of the 30s. As long as this question will not be raised clearly, which is not in religious terms but in political terms, we shall be completely blind in what happens in this world. You said that Israel is a catalyst of that. I don't think so. Israel is not even a catalyst. Without Israel, it would be exactly the same. It would be exactly the same. I had a few years ago a very strange experience. I spent a part of my time during 1 year in Pakistan. In Pakistan, they don't even know, not the leaders, of course, but the population has a very slight idea of what Israel is. The Palestinian case, they don't give a damn for that. Palestinian in Pakistan has a name, which is Kashmir. They care about Kashmir. So in this country where you care about Kashmir, where you never saw a Palestinian, where you have no Jews, nevertheless, you have this very strange anti-Zionism without Zionism, anti-Semitism without Jews, and so on and so on. So Israel is not the question. Without the existence of Israel, it would be exactly the same scheme. It would be exactly the same pattern. The pattern will exist with or without it, because it is an old story. Hamas and Hezbollah, for example, my problem is not again with Islam there. My problem is with fascism. Hamas and Hezbollah, the real problem is that they have their feet, they have their roots, they have their legs still here in the mud, in the muddy water of an old fascism which has not been yet dragged in this area of the world. And to finish, not the question of Israel, not totalitarianism but fascism, and about, somebody spoke about the burqas and the veil and scarf as a dress code. It is not a dress code. It is a political code. It is a political message. And if we, as long as we consider, I don't say that we have to forbid or not forbid, there is a big debate in France, has to be forbidden or not in the public space or beyond the public space. This is a political question, but the deep question is to admit that the burqa, which has nothing to do with worshipping, as you know, which has nothing to do with Quran. All the Quranist specialists know that the bearing of burqa is nowhere in Quran recommended and ordered. It is not a religious topic. It is a political message. And the political message, who says what? Who says a very simple thing, a thing against which all Democrats in America and in Europe and in Muslim world fight and fight and fight since ages. The message of the burqa and of the scarf is that there is a sort of native inequality between men and women. The political message of burqa is that the men have a face and the women, the face of a woman is not a face, is a scandal. This is a political message. The inequality between women and men consists in the fact that the face of the woman is an outrage, which has to be mastered, which has to be hidden, which has to be neutralized. This idea that the face of the women and their body has to be neutralized because it is an agent provocateur, because it is a provocative agent, because it is a seed of disorder, because it is a way of destroying humanity, because it is an ontological impurity. This has nothing to do with Islam, thanks God. This has to do with an old tradition, which is a tradition, a version, a variant of fascism. So to finish with that, to finish with the whole thing, because it's my role, I'm sorry, the debate about freedom of speech or not, denial of Holocaust, and all the questions we have raised since 2 hours is not an academic debate, is not a religious debate. It is the brave old debate, which we know well. We had to face it, you Americans, us Europeans, and we defeated him. We defeated the bad part of the debate, and we will defeat it again in the new situation. It is a debate between democracy and fascism. This is the question of today in Iran, in China, in some parts of the Muslim world, and this is the battle we have to wage and to win, with, in particular, the freedom of speech. Thank you.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who can send a tax-deductible contribution of $36 or more to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media to help support our programming. Tax-deductible checks may be made out to GEM and mailed to GEM, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York, 10471. Please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD, and we thank you for your kind support.